Only 70% of Americans identify as Christian, and this segment is not about most of them. This segment is about the rise of a white Christian nationalist movement in the U.S. It's emerging in the news more and more. You're probably hearing the term Christian nationalism more and more. Here is one expert's definition. Quote, Christian nationalism is the belief that the American nation is defined by Christianity and that the government should take active steps to keep it that way. Many observers feel that would threaten a diverse democracy, healthy democracy in the U.S. We are seeing some Republican politicians in the U.S. embrace the term Christian nationalism. For example, Marjorie Taylor Greene the other day, doubling down on past comments. She tweeted, Christian nationalism is what this nation needs. Lauren Boebert said she's tired of the U.S. separation of church and state. And the GOP nominee for governor of Pennsylvania, Doug Mastriano, has been in the news in recent days for his campaign's apparent payments to Gab, a social media platform with ties to white nationalists, where a gunman posted a video before going inside that Pittsburgh synagogue and killing worshipers in 2018. Mastriano in the news, other candidates in the news about this. So I want to bring in a guest.
I'm going to pause the video right there and remind you guys that Rick Wiles, I haven't looked at his content in a while, but the last time that I was on there, he was on Gab. And he claimed he ran away from Twitter, which he didn't. He was still on Twitter. He's a liar. And then he went to Gab. So this is, thinking about David. Turning on his most trusted and one of his most loyal men, because he's caught up.
This subject for years and knows it better than almost anyone. She has this recent guest essay in the New York Times titled Christian Nationalists Are Excited About What Comes Next. She's been following the movement for over 12 years, attending right-wing strategy meetings, conferences, and activist gatherings. Catherine Stewart is her name. She's the author of The Power Worshippers Inside the Dangerous Rise of Religious Nationalism. Catherine, let's define our terms first. I think a lot of viewers are hearing Christian nationalism more and more. What is it?
Christian nationalism is basically the idea that America was founded as a so-called Christian nation. Our laws should be based on the Bible, and supposedly right-thinking believers need to reclaim America's past. It's also
that what heals the country will be saved through religion. Why do you say that's so dangerous?
Well, it's dangerous because it's a radically anti-democratic ideology. It rejects the principles of pluralism and equality that represent the best of the American promise. The movement, it's not just an ideology, it's also an organized quest for political power.
Power is the key word here.
That's right. It's a political movement. And this movement has built up a lot of different, sort of a dense organizational infrastructure over decades that includes right-wing policy groups, legal advocacy groups, networking initiatives that get the leadership on the same page.
Supreme Court justices?
Supreme Court justices. So one of the problems is we're hearing a lot about the 6 Supreme Court justices, conservative justices on the Supreme Court, but we don't hear enough about the Federalist Society, which is an organization that plays an outsized role in shaping our courts. All 6 conservative members of the Supreme Court are current or have current or former ties to the Federalist Society.
And as I mentioned in the intro, you've been writing about this for years. Why is it in the news more now? Why are these lawmakers suddenly using these terms and in some cases embracing this idea?
Well, I think Trump actually threw open the doors to leaders of this movement. It's a leadership-driven movement. It's not defined by the attitudes of the rank and file. Those attitudes are actually shaped by the leadership of the movement. He offered them unprecedented political access, offered them, of course, the justices they wanted. Leaders of the movement, listen, this is a movement that represents a minority of our country. Most American Christians reject the politics of conquest and division that this movement represents.
Right, that is a key point. I often think that American news outlets need to have more dedicated religion reporters, to have more coverage of religion. How would you encourage news outlets to cover this topic of Christian nationalism?
Well, I think there's a lot of focus on this as a sort of people cast it as about theology or about the culture wars. So we get a lot of stories from the pews and we get a lot of stories from kitchen tables of the rank and file, but we don't get enough stories about how the rank and file have been activated to act in interests of the movement leadership. This is very much a leadership-driven movement, and how their attitudes have been shaped by the movement leaders.
That's why I like the title of the book, Power Worshippers. It's about power. That's what we need to see. Catherine, thank you very much for coming on today. Roughly 70.
All right. So, and I'm going to keep pumping it out. I'm going to keep pumping out this information, whether whomever likes it, or not. And with that, until the next video.